Welcome to the Ops Experts Club with Aaron, Terryn, and Savannah. This podcast will take you behind the scenes of some of the finer details of multi-million-dollar companies. These ops experts have dealt with operations for scaling companies and well-established businesses with anywhere from small to large teams. If you've ever been deep into the details of a major company, then you know how much it takes, and these conversations are just for you. Welcome to the Ops Experts Club podcast.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you. I feel welcomed. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It just wouldn't be Thursday without Ops Experts. So,
Thanks for joining us, Kimberly. Why don't you give us a quick rundown of who you are, who you work for, what you do, and your favorite type of cookie?
so my name is Kimberly Remedies. I am the integrator for the Rainmaker family. It's kind of like being the operational yin to the visionary yang, if you're not sure what the integrator is. So that's kind of my role over there. And I love it so much. I love our company and our team. I'm also a mom of many. So I've got 6 children, 5 still at home, grandbaby on the way in January. So making sure that we are fruitful in multiplication there. And then let's see, my favorite cookie, any cookie that is not due to the 4-H office by 12. When I have a child to pick up also by 12 and an interview at 4. My children are going to Magnolia Bend Academy locally, which is it's like a homeschool tutoring program 3 days a week. It's heavenly. And they so graciously enrolled all my little clover buds into 4-H. Lots of extracurricular activities, but never fear, Ops friends. We, as of this evening, will have a Google form with a QR code at our school desk here at the house that must be filled out if anyone wants to participate in any event moving forward. And there will be some boundaries there.
Wow. Great. I was in 4-H. Until I was 14, I think. I know that world. I'm sure my parents loved it too. Hey, paid for my braces though as a kid, so they had its pros.
Okay. All right. I'm feeling better about the cookie contest.
Fun fact, that's how my husband trained his dogs. He just had 4-H class with his dogs, would just take them. And then his parents didn't have to worry about getting the puppies trained because they just handled it at 4-H and then they had well-behaved dogs.
That's pretty
okay. All right. You're winning me over. This is how I paid for the fair. Until I was in my 20s, I would enter stuff in the 4-H contest. And then, with my entry winnings, I would pay for the fair bracelet or bracelets.
Oh, so when did you join Rainmakers, Kimberly?
I joined Rainmakers in 2020, from the bottom of the pipeline, the bottom of the funnel. I came in as a challenger, did the 7-day Rainmaker challenge, went through the process, joined the high ticket offer, which at that time was a lot different than it is now. So yeah, that was the process. And then I joined the higher ticket offer and I started my own Amazon business using that process. And we saw success in that time. I joined in February of 2020. By February of 2021, our business had already reached the 6-figure mark. And it was mind blowing because the rest of the world was kind of imploding on itself. And our businesses were just snowballing. So it was crazy. And of course, I was sold and loved the community, loved Steven and Chelsea. So that was my journey into Rainmakers as a student. And then, so I had a coach, ended up buying his Rainmaker business. And so, yeah, we focused on growing our businesses. I started coaching with the Rainmaker community, did the DISC profile. Turns out, not really coach material, but we made it work, learned so much along the way, but Steven found some other opportunities for me. And I started doing some other things and it started to click oh, that's what I'm here to do, So I'm grateful for the experiences of all the things because it certainly helped me. And if you're ever in an ops seat, don't think you won't be doing any coaching. 80% of the job, right, Terryn?
Don't think you won't be doing anything. You're going to do a little bit of everything at some point.
The putty that just kind of fills in the cracks to make sure that everything's, running smooth.
Isn't it though?
I'm curious as to what got you into the position you are. Was it just over time you're oh, this is what I'm really good at? Obviously you're a very scheduled and organized person. Seems like you're trying to have to be, especially with QR codes for your kids. Where Steven and Chelsea are like, oh, she's really good at this. We need her to do more of this.
It was kind of a slow fade, but I will say this, that other people noticed it before I did. And I was just kind of the yes girl. Like, I loved working with them. I loved working. It's almost like you get paid to be in a mastermind, you know? So like any opportunity, I was, yes, I will do that. I will figure it out. And then use it in my own business. Right. So they kind of started noticing that a little earlier on. And I'm not even really sure what started it. So we had live challenges, and we're going to do like this evergreen model. So for that, we needed like a chat buddy, like real life person system. And we called them breakthrough buddies. And so it was like, hey, we want to start this team. You want to help us out? I'm like, yeah. And so got started on that. And then Steven's like, hey, we kind of want to build another team. Do you want to help, like, structure and build this other team? I'm like, yeah. So started doing that. And then it was kind of like, hey, so like, how about if we build more teams? You just want to be like a team builder? I was like, yeah. Started just like kind of developing a structure for like how to start teams and like etiquette and like all the things early on. And then kind of manning those teams and coaching and also doing the things that those teams did, like taking calls and stuff like that. And then I slowly kind of like faded out of the boots on the ground thing and more of like okay, let's put together a system for this team and serve them in that way. And then in doing that, between coaching and leading these teams and taking calls and all that stuff, I found that requests and issues and fires were coming at me like paintballs, and I was like, oh, I don't even know like which one to try to block right now. And I was required to submit tickets to our third-party marketing team, which I loathed. And because it like slowed me down, I'm like, it's so much easier for me to send you a Slack message and be like, dude, I need this. But he's like, no, there's a system. And I'm like, that kind of sucks for me. So I went into Monday.com and I created like a free account, and I duplicated their ticketing system so that when my team had an issue, they brought it to me in a ticket. And if I couldn't fix it, it was just a matter of copy and paste to get it on over there. So that was kind of my save myself situation. But in that, I was able to create an environment where things were coming in prioritized. So I could go to bed if all the red and orange stuff was done. The blue and green stuff, like, that's fine until tomorrow. Yeah. So I was like, oh, there's something to this. And so I started kind of like picking the brains of other operations people. And I realized how essential it is to have a task management system, because Slack just don't cut it. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like started, teasing visionary with this idea of like, hey, task management system, what do you think? And he was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. And so we finally got to this place where I was like, look, we got a challenge coming up. Let's try it out. So we did, for like me and him and his EA. And I think we had one other person that was kind of helping pick apart some tasks for the challenge, which is a huge beast for 4 people to handle. And it just became obvious how essential Monday.com was. And so then it turned into like, let's get everybody on Monday.com, which turned into, we need an org chart. And then it just kind of happened. And then on Christmas Eve, I got a package in the mail from Steven and Chelsea, and it was the book Rocket Fuel. And I'd already read half of it, ironically. And then they sent me like a little note and like a necklace in a box, like a proposal, like, will you be our integrator? Check yes or no. It was the sweetest thing ever. Oh. So that was kind of like initial moment. Yeah. But that there was just a lot of like, see the need, build the need up until that point.
I really like that story. It's something we see a lot in these small startups. It's more of the organic takeover of, you're starting small and you're proving your worth over time. And eventually one day they're just like, all right, Kimberly's in charge now. And it's not like you think of bigger companies where it's like, we're headhunting an integrator, an operations person, we're hired for it. It's like, all these companies start from the bottom up. And a lot of the big roles you see getting filled at the beginning are people from the bottom up. And it's really cool. We see that probably most of the people we're going to interview, not many of them actually started working with the people they're with now from the top. They've all started lower.
Mm-hmm. I think it's my favorite thing about getting to work with these smaller startups is just seeing like people realize what they're capable of, get out of their own way, and just like excel. Because especially like in the time of like technology, like we have like so many tools cool tools at our fingertips that just like help us like Monday. Like I love what you've done in Monday and seeing what you've done to the L10 format within Monday and just knowing like how customizable things are. And yeah, that's I love going through your Monday boards.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Savannah, because it took a little persuading to get Aaron over to Monday for Elton. He was a little unsure about moving away from the sheets, but now that we're there, and I think one day I was sick and I was like, Aaron, can you try this thing for me? He's like, in Monday?
It's about being flexible in where your team is at, what your team uses and what you're used to. Like Google, reason we use Google Sheets is just so ubiquitous. Is that the right word? I mean, everybody has a Google account and they're easy to use, but if your team doesn't use Google, they use Monday, then like a good ops person goes, okay, this is how my team works and this is how I can make it more efficient for them. I'm not going to just go in and make it more difficult for them because that's just how it's supposed to be done. So I think that's a good flexibility on your part to say, hey, this is how we do it. And I'm the ops leader now. So that's the decision that's made.
I don't know. I might have failed him a smidge on that because everybody was fine operating from Slack. And I was like,
they're fine operating from Slack, but they're not fine. Like, I think as more growth happens, I think this most recent challenge would have made that very clear if people were just trying to do things in Slack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what would you say, Kimberly, has been the biggest hurdle in the learning process in your position, or maybe even when you first started with Rainmakers, that has been like the most difficult thing to get over?
Well, I don't know that I'm on the other side of the mountain yet. I think I'm still kind of like in the climb on this one, but definitely confidence. Like Terryn said, you start out as a challenger and now you're like every day meeting with CEO and like hashing out plans for the thing. And like, how do we make your visions happen and coordinate that with the people? And it was kind of like this, I don't know. There's definitely like one side of you grows really fast and the other side is just trying to keep up. It's like little kids, they grow so fast that you buy them the slim jeans and they're still too short because they're too tall this way and they're not big enough that way. So that's kind of how it felt in my roles. Like I was definitely growing in one direction, but not enough in the other to buy a pair of jeans that fit, So it just kind of felt like the confidence, like gaining confidence and like really, because I came into this place like really leaning more on my gut and my gifting that other people were seeing in me and like kind of pulling to the surface than any kind of real life experience doing this thing. I'm a mom. Like, yeah, there's some operations involved in that, but I had to learn how to use Facebook in 2020 for real. I started having babies when I was 18 and I looked up and a decade went by and I didn't know how to use technology or anything. And so there was a lot of like, I guess just feeling like, I don't know if you always kind of feel like there's someone out there probably better for the job, And so there's always that thing. And then I just had this habit of kind of shying back when I felt internally like I should stand up strong on something. And in hindsight, I shouldn't have let that fear kind of dictate whether or not I spoke up about something. It's okay if you get a no or a little pushback. It's actually healthy for a team to be able to do that. So, but I didn't understand that at the time. I just was kind of the yes girl still like, but inside I'm like, Snowball, is anyone else seeing this? All that. I'm like, yes, the polite Zoom nod. So I just think it's still something that I'm working on and like kind of being able to come out of my shell, even if Visionary's not on board, which is so hard because I love them and have mad respect for them. They're like a celebrity. And I'm like, it's just hard to push back, but I have, and they actually really appreciated it. And so that was a big moment of just like growth in our relationship together when they're like, hey, thanks for pushing back. I mean, we're still going to do it this way, but thanks. And I was like, okay, cool. And then something that Aaron's taught me that I have to like put on repeat in my mind is like, even if there's something I feel like really needs to come out and like we need to have a conversation about the thing, and Visionary is like, no, we're going to go this way with it. And, ultimately like that's the deciding factor. But if it goes sour, despite any like warnings or like data presented, it's still a win because we've gone to like the next level in our relationship as visionary integrator combo because we developed that new level of trust. If, there was a warning about something and they go another way and then it kind of goes sour, it's almost like, oh, okay, next time we're going to really kind of dig into these numbers a little bit more and, So yeah, just confidence. And even though I didn't have experience, I had you guys.
I think a lot of that speaks to just how quickly your skills grow when you're new at something. It's like if your skills are growing so quickly because you're just doing, there's a part of you that's still behind that's going like, I don't know. For me, it's like I always felt like sort of imposter syndrome. Like I know I can do all these things, but the other half of me is going, wait, you don't know how to do that. I'm like, wait, you said do you? I just learned how to do that last week. So it's like your skills are growing quickly, but the rest of you is like trying to keep up with your skills. So you're always like, can I do this? Isn't there somebody better? So I totally get where you're coming from. I used to call myself at my last job the no man because that was sort of my role as operations was like the visionary would come and be like, can we do this? And be like, no. But I mean, like you said, a lot of that just came from so many opportunities of like, you would come in, can we do this? I'd be like, I don't think so. Do it anyways, fails. Do it anyways, fails. And then finally you'd be like, can we do this? I'd be like, no. And you'd be like, okay, we're not going to do that. It takes a lot of time to build up that relationship too, like you said.
It is interesting too, like the labels that we put on ourselves that kind of like hold us back. Like you're like, I'm just a mom, but like look at everything that you're capable of. And then also like you had a lot of kids in a short amount of time, which takes like so much mental math and gymnastics, literally and figuratively. Like it definitely prepares you in a certain way. And I know that I have in my head, like because I worked at Walmart, I have just like Walmart customer service just always hanging out in the back of my head where it's like, what are you doing? You're just a Walmart employee. Like, what do you tell people what to do? And even though that was like some of the best training I ever had, but still, like, you put these labels that kind of qualifies you before you even open your mouth. And we just gotta shut up.
Then on the flip side, Kimberly, what would you say has been the biggest win, the most positive moment or learning experience you've gotten out of working with Rainmakers so far?
Okay. So this one's for Terryn and for everyone else out there, like Terryn, which is all like probably 3 people in the universe. But I just feel like back to kind of the gut and the gifting. Like when I first started that integrator journey, it was like this unofficial role, and it felt so, like you said, Savannah, it was almost like I didn't have the title. No one asked me to do this, but here I come anyway, with my checklist and my Monday board. And it almost felt like people don't like me, but I had this inner like gut feeling. And there were some people like cheering me along on the sidelines, like, hey, this is good. Like, keep doing this. This is helping. And I'm like, and so I kept stumbling on those ideas and opportunities to systemize things and like build processes out for the team. And so like Terryn, I documented everything I could, like as fast as it was coming at me. I still was like, okay, I'm going to SOP this. Okay, I'm going to document this. I made myself a toolbox in Monday and I just started collecting these little pieces that at the time felt like, honestly, I wondered if I was misusing that precious time, because but I did it anyway. And I can't tell you how often it's happened. And me and Aaron were actually just talking about this Tuesday. I can't tell you how often it's happened that a need arises and I'm like, wait a second. Oh, we have that. Let me go grab the SOP. And it's like, at that moment, I would not have been able to like, hold on, pause L10. I'll be back in 3 hours with the thing, And so it's just to be able to like whip it out the toolbox. And it's like screwdriver for you, flathead for you. And like, just like really be able to supply my team what they needed to rock it. So I think that, I try to remind myself of the times that gut and gifting has served our teams well. And that helps me kind of like build a muscle memory to do the thing when I'm tempted to like be like, no, I don't have time. Or it just feels like super awkward. Like, I don't know whether or not I should do this stuff now, or people are going to think I'm just being a bossy tail. But one thing I did learn is that far down the road kind of turns into yesterday before you know it. It's like, you put those hand-me-downs up in the top of their closet and you think, they'll never be a 5T. And it's like 3 weeks and you need the 5T clothes. It's the same thing.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. What would you, here's one for you. What would you, as an ops person who's well established now in an online community, what would be a piece of advice you give somebody who's just coming in to the online entrepreneur world and is maybe as an ops person or even like an EA who, like myself, when I first started with Collab team, I was like, what is this weird world that you guys work inside? What would be some advice that you would give somebody like me who's trying to come in and just get my feet wet in it?
Yeah, Ben, that wasn't one of my 3 questions on the calendar invites. Have anything for you? No, just kidding. What would I tell myself? Let's see. I would sit her down with a cup of coffee and an ember mug because that's not get cold. And I would let her know that she can. If you can do all these other things, you have a skill of figuring stuff out and serving people and being a solutionary. I love how you call yourself solution specialists. I'm like, yes, they are. And if you can do that, like if you can have 4 babies and nurse toddlers and keep them alive for 15 years, you can do this thing. And I think, like Savannah was saying, so many times we put like labels and restrictions on ourselves that I think some of it is like a little false humility for being real, right? Some of it might be a little, but I think a lot of it is that, forgive me, but we're lazy. So much easier to cop it out with a big fat I can't. Well, I can't do that. Let me go ask Terryn because he knows Zapier better than I do. I can't do that. And while Terryn is exponentially better at Zapier stuff than I am, I can. And the weekend, like 6 p.m. on a Saturday, I know he's on his motorcycle or next to a lake somewhere, and I can't just have Terryn. So I need to go find me some big girl britches and get in Zapier, roll my sleeves up, and figure that thing out. And it may take me an hour to do something that took Terryn 5 minutes to do, or riding a horse. Yes, it's riding something. So yeah, if it could take me an hour to figure out something, what I've done in that hour is solved a problem and learned a new skill and most likely created another SOP so I never have to go on Zapier again. Yeah. But yeah, it would be a long conversation with this girl, and it would be like the core of the conversation, the heart of it would be quit being lazy fool. Like, you can do this. Quit hiding behind I can't. And and also there's other stuff we hide behind too. I don't know how many moms are like hearing the thing, but a lot of moms will claim, I'm talking about myself, so I can be like super mean right now. A lot of moms will claim that they're doing the best for their family, or that I just want to like give all my time to my kids and things like that. But let me tell you something. I've been a way better mom since I had this outlet for my crazy than before. Like, can you imagine? Just take a moment and imagine what it looks like when you have an ops brain and a bunch of little toddlers. Like, there ain't a chore chart on this planet that is going to satisfy and scratch that itch. I'm just saying. And I've got some pretty, like, having that outlet to like, that sandbox to play in, to like go crazy in an area where people really appreciate it. And I get paid to do it. Then when I do punch the clock, when I do come away from the computer, when I close the laptop, when I go to the park, I am so filled. I am filled up. I'm happy. I'm not like, if you saw me in January of 2020, I was kind of like the ragged out crunchy mom with a bunch of little kids. But now I feel like I'm not kind of living in this constant state of like victim mode and life happening to me and hiding behind what I'm saying is a better cause. And when I got off my lazy bum and I actually like started to serve others with my gifts and not hide behind things that were easy to hide behind, then I did. And Dustin said 1,000 times, like, the growth that I've had, like personal growth that I've had in this year has helped our relationship. I'm a better wife now because, I mean, you guys are married. Like, are you married to ops ladies or like normal people? And don't just don't say it. I mean, can you imagine, like, so or Dustin's like, yeah, this is really good for us,
That's so great. And one thing you said too really stands out, and Terryn, correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't go to a 4-year university of Zapier, right? That was all just self-taught. It really exactly how it started.
I went to college twice, okay, and one of them I paid for, but I went for architectural design, which is kind of hilarious. And it's like the same things that drew me to that and like drew me to drafting. I didn't love shot class for the reason that some students love shot class. I really genuinely love drafting. And those same, like that same pull and like, I don't know, just refreshment that I got from doing that sort of stuff is the same thing I'm doing here every single day. I build a home, I build businesses, I build systems and processes and serve people, and I absolutely love it. Now, I can't drive downtown and be like, yep, that was me. But I do feel like so fulfilled at the end of the day when I can walk away because, you know, this team has a clean SOP that they can use. And now Visionary's not having to do that same task over and over again, and he can focus on our growth. And that is a day's work well done.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And that is a great spot to end today's Ops Experts Club with Kimberly at Rainmakers. Kimberly, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's
So
been
glad
a-
we got to see you again.
I guess this is where
Yeah.
we invite everybody to join us again next week for our next
Yes.
Ops Experts Club. Mm-hmm. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Kimberly.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ops Experts Club podcast. New episodes available every week on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you're curious about how some of the biggest names in entrepreneurship have scaled their businesses to the next level, check out some of our best content on this topic by going to foundationsthatscale.com. You can find the link in our bio and do your part to improve as an ops expert.